September 2024, a 33-year-old woman named Archana Kamath walked into a hospital in India. She was a college lecturer, a mother of 4-year-old, and she had made a decision. A 63-year-old relative, her husband's aunt, her mother-in-law's sister needed a liver transplant. The family had been searching for a donor for over a year and a half. No one had stepped forward, so Archana did. She volunteered to donate a portion of her liver to someone she didn't even share blood with. Just a family connection, a sense of duty, and perhaps a quiet feeling that it was her turn to step up. The surgery happened. The relative survived, but Archana developed complication after the operation and she died. Her 4-year-old was left without a mother. Her story spread through social media, not as a scandal, not as an outrage, but as a quiet reminder. Living organ donation is not a routine procedure. It is a major surgery with real risks. And the person taking those risks, far more often than not, is a woman. Every day, people die waiting for an organ. And every year, thousands of people, perfectly healthy people, choose to give a piece of themselves so someone else can live. We call it the greatest gift. But here's a question almost no one is asking. Why the person lying on that operating table, the one giving, is predominantly a woman? Let's look at the numbers. Because this isn't just one woman's story, this is a global pattern. According to the Global Observatory on Donation and Transplantation Report 2024, across 79 countries, 62% of all living kidney donors are women. Women are donating kidneys at nearly twice the rate of men. For living liver donation, which is a far more complex and dangerous surgery, women still make up the majority. Across 48 countries, 53% of living liver donors are women. Now, here's where the story flips completely. When we look at who receives these organs, that's 64% male recipients across 73 countries. Women are the primary source, men are the primary beneficiaries. This is not just a small gap. This is a systemic, globally consistent pattern, and it holds across Southeast Asia, South Asia, Europe, Latin America, the Middle East, and the Africa. No single culture or religion can be blamed. This is structural. And if the global picture looks skewed, India makes it even more stark. According to NOTTO, India's National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, in 2023, there were 15,436 total living donors in India. Of those, 9,784 were women, that's 63%. But here's what makes this data really interesting. Look at deceased donors. In 2023 in India, 77% of deceased donors were male, only 23% were female. Think about that. That tells you something very important. This gender imbalance is not about biology. It is about who feels free to say no. And it gets worse on the recipient side. In 2024, a member of parliament, Shri Kuruva Goranthala Madhav, formally asked the Indian government in Lok Sabha about gender disparity in organ transplants. The government's own response confirmed between 1995 and 2021, out of 36,640 total transplants in India, 29,695 went to men. Only 6,945 went to women. That is roughly 4 transplants to men for every 1 transplant to a woman. A ratio sustained over 26 years. Think. Over 26 years, 80% of recipients are men. Let me repeat, 80% of recipients are men. If women are donating organs at nearly twice the rate of men, why are women receiving them at less than half the rate? That is not a gap in generosity. This is a gap in whose life we have decided matters more. Before we talk about why this is happening, Let's be clear about what living donation actually involves. Because when we talk about women bearing this burden disproportionately, we should understand what that burden actually is. Liver donation is significantly more complex. The surgeon removes a portion of donor's liver, usually 60 to 70%, and transplants it into the recipient. The donor's liver does regenerate over time, but the procedure carries much greater short term risk. Archana Kamath died from post operative complication after liver donation. Donating a kidney is a major surgery, and complications can include pain, infection at the incision site, incisional hernia, pneumonia, blood clots, hemorrhaging, the potential need of blood transfusions, allergic reaction to anesthesia, and in rare but real cases, even death. So, why is this happening? Research on gender disparities in organ donation has identified several overlapping reasons. From childhood, women are taught to be caregivers, to put family first, to sacrifice. In many societies, a good woman is the one who does not hesitate when family needs her. Research into gender discrepancies in India specifically notes that women see caring for family members as an extension of their domestic duties. So, when a family crisis happens, a husband needs a kidney, a son needs a liver, the moral pressure to step forward falls on the woman almost automatically. She may never be explicitly told she has to donate, but the expectation is there in the size, in the comparisons, in the silence. In many Indian and other developing country households, men are the primary financial providers. Families are often reluctant to put the breadwinner through a surgery that could take him out of work for weeks or months. Because women's domestic labor is unpaid and undervalued, their health risks are treated as more economically acceptable. The brutal calculation becomes if the husband can't work, who will provide? And so the wife steps up instead. Psychological research on living donors has found that women are more vulnerable to subtle pressure. Comments like, if you really loved him, you would do this. Think of the children. No one else can help. These comments aren't physical threats, but they are powerful. Ethical guidelines say donation must be freely given. But when a woman's identity is tied to being a caregiver, it is very hard to separate freedom from duty. Online discussions in India are filled with first hand accounts of women who felt that they had no real choice, not because someone forced them, but because refusing would have made them feel like bad wives, bad daughters, bad mothers. In many patriarchal family structures, women have less control over decisions about their own bodies. In many religious and cultural contexts, female sacrifice is framed as virtue. Women are praised for giving up their health, time, and lives for the family. Male breadwinners, meanwhile, are protected because their survival is framed as being more important for the family's economic stability. Understanding a problem is not the same as solving it, but there are things that can actually be done. The most powerful long term solution is to reduce dependence on living donors altogether by expanding deceased donor organ donation programs. When families don't have to choose who goes under the knife, the pressure on women drops. Governments can launch public awareness campaigns, simplify consent mechanisms, and build trust in the transplant system so more people say yes after death. Current psychological evaluations for living donors need to be standardized and strengthened. They should ask not just are you willing, but what happens in your family if you say no? They should specifically screen for gender based pressure, emotional manipulation, and hidden financial coercion. A signature on a consent form does not always equal genuine consent. Archana Kamath walked into a hospital in September 2024 wanting to save someone's life. She did, and then she was gone. Living organ donation is one of the most profound acts a human being can perform. The courage it takes deserves our deepest respect. But when one gender consistently bears the majority of the physical risk, when women provide nearly two-thirds of living organs and receive less than one-third in return, We have to ask uncomfortable questions because true generosity can only exist when people are genuinely free to say no. And maybe the real issue isn't that women are more willing to donate. Maybe it's the society has spent generations teaching them that they should be. Organ donation saves life. It is beautiful. It is necessary. But a system built disproportionately on the bodies of women who are conditioned to say yes before they have been given real permission to say no, owes those women more than gratitude. It owes them honesty, protection, and a choice that is actually free.